Hey everyone, there we go. This has been such an epic fail of a live stream. I've tried a bunch of times. I think I have audio now, so let me know in the comments, in the comment section of the live chat, that you can hear me. And second of all, I guess OBS defaulted it back to 720p, so sorry about that as well. But here we are. Thanks for everybody joining. It looks like we have about 10 people here. Kevin Reyes, no sound. JK fixed. Okay, cool. All right, so I guess we're good to go now, and it's really hot. So, okay, cool. Everyone's here. Awesome. Parker, audio works. Thanks. Inkiad. Oh, I'm not gonna pretend to pronounce that. Inkiad. Hey, well, hello. Fabian. Hey, Tyler's from Germany. Hello, V Gates. Audio is working. Everything is working. Okay, good. All right, we're here. We're good. All right, so I just made a video yesterday about, well, I published it yesterday, about the Pocket 6K Pro, and I wanted to just kind of like talk about it here too, live stream it up a little bit. I talked about everything I was excited about that camera. There's some things that I'm, there's some wishes that still with the camera, but we're going to talk about those. But let me know in the comments below. You saw the title of the live stream, Pocket 6K Pro, so we're going to talk about that. So I'm guessing the 17 of you that are watching right now are probably interested in the camera. So I definitely want to hear your excitement, your feedback, your comments on the camera, and we'll kind of just have like a live discussion about this and all that stuff. I wish I had a way to like bring people on. I just don't know how to do that yet. Clearly, I can barely even live stream. So, yeah. So the Pocket 6K Pro, I am super pumped to get it in, and I don't know when they're actually going to ship it. It said available now in stock, on the live stream, and it's not. Obviously, it's on pre-order everywhere. So I don't really know. Maybe I've seen some people in like Singapore getting their cameras, so maybe that's where it was in stock, like in Singapore or something. I don't know. Probably has to do with shipping delays or COVID or whoever knows else. But anyways, I am really excited for that camera to finally ship out and all that kind of stuff. I would say this camera is probably, I think it's like the perfect evolution of the pocket camera. And I think it's like what the pocket camera should have been all along. And I'm really excited for, obviously the NDs, that's absolutely huge. And that kind of makes it to where, like, I have an URSA G3, and that's what I'm shooting on right now. And I think the Pocket 6K is going to be a fantastic B cam to the URSA G2, but also I really see this camera fitting in, especially for shoots where, I got some stuff coming up where I'm going to be traveling a little bit for work, and if it's just a one cam shoot, I'm probably just going to bring the Pocket 6K Pro with me instead of the URSA G2, because I have internal NDs and all that kind of stuff. And and so yeah, that's absolutely huge. The one thing that I want to test before doing that is the mini XLRs and see how the preamps actually sound on the camera, because the old Pocket cameras preamps weren't great. They weren't terrible, but definitely I still recommended recording audio separately. On the URSA G2, the preamps actually sounded really good, and for a lot of run and gun type stuff where I boom overhead, I just run it right into the camera. But I want to know like phantom power, like XLR audio input. I just want to see if that's going to be the same case with the Pocket 6K, and if those preamps are clean enough, then that's going to be an awesome solution for lightweight run and gun kind of travel filmmaking. Not travel filmmaking as in like vacationing. I mean, I would plan on using it for that as well, but for travel filmmaking where I got to go out on location and fly somewhere, And instead of having to bring my URSA rig, I could bring my Pocket 4K and my 1DX for stills, and Pocket 4K, Pocket 6K Pro as my video camera if I just need to do quick interviews or something like that. So yeah, so that's what I'm really excited about. I do want to test that out. There are some other things, but there's some comments going on now, so let's get to those. Parker says, I think they did enough to it to keep it within the Pocket family and not to push it too far into what they're trying to offer into the larger URSA bodies. Yeah, I agree. I think the URSA definitely still has some offerings that the Pocket 6K Pro just doesn't have, namely being higher frame rates. If that's important for sports or whatever the case may be, definitely has it there. And then the URSA ergonomically, it just has more ergonomic advantages to it with all the buttons and dials and stuff on the side. Even when you have the monitor closed, which is how I run the camera quite a bit when I have an external monitor on the top. I really like the fact that you can like adjust the audio gain and all that stuff and change the white balance and toggle and switch to high frame rate. And I guess you can do that in the Pocket 6K too. But a lot of stuff ergonomically makes the URSA G2 just a really great camera. And I really see these cameras being a really good pair. Kind of like the C70 and the C500 Mark II or C300 Mark III or something like that. It's just a good companion camera to it. But the Pocket cameras also offer things that the URSA can't do, and one of those namely being like flying on a gimbal or something, or being more discreet. So yeah, I mean there's kind of pluses and minuses to both, and I think they're going to be a really good pair. And the older Pocket 6K, the non-pro version, in the Pocket 4K have proven to already be fantastic B cameras to the G2. Let's see here. Fabian says, I don't think there is a need to upgrade if you already own the 6K. The ND feature is the only thing I really like for handheld stuff. Yeah, I guess I think it's a matter of preference at this point. A lot of people that have the Pocket 6K already have kind of rigged it out with ND solutions and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, from that perspective, it may not be necessary to upgrade. However, if you're looking to add another camera to your kit, has a B camera or C camera, or kind of have a B and C cam option, I do think that the Pocket 6K really could kind of replace the Pocket 6K, the older one, as an A camera for a lot of situations. But the other thing is, like, if a lot of people have their Pocket 6Ks rigged out, with a V-mount solution and matte box with NDs, rails, external monitor, all that kind of stuff. And that might actually just be a better A cam that it's all rigged out and stuff. And the Pocket 6K Pro could really be a B cam to that, in the sense that I don't really think it needs to be rigged out all that much, based on all the hardware improvements that they made. I don't think it needs to be rigged out all that much, just because you don't need really a matte box for NDs. The only time you would need a matte box is to actually use this as a matte box for flaring, or if you want to continue using your Pro Mist filters that you have already, like the actual, not the screw-on filters, but the ones you drop in an ND. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm kind of rambling on, but I think it just depends on your workflow. Christian says, I did not understand if the new model, it would be possible to record both in 6K and 4K using the whole sensor. No. So the only Blackmagic camera that you can use the full width of the sensor to record in different resolutions is the URSA Mini Pro 12K with their new RGB WW sensor. Now, that was the one surprise that I had with this camera, is that the fact that they didn't put that sensor in this camera. However, I think it's just, they developed their own sensor in-house, and that's really expensive, and it might just be really expensive to manufacture and all that stuff, and maybe that's why the URSA Mini Pro 12K is priced at where it is, as opposed to the URSA Mini Pro G2. So with that theory, and the fact that maybe building sensors, manufacturing sensors in-house, just it takes more time and they don't have the inventory like they did maybe outsourcing the sensor for the Pocket 6K. There could just be the fact that they just don't have enough enough supply to keep up with the demand of the Pocket 6K Pro, because they're probably going to sell, you know, between 5 and 10 times more Pocket 6K Pros than their URSA Mini Pro 12K. So that's the case. So all that to be said, the 4K is windowed. It is confirmed. I went back and read the manual, and you go on the little frame rate sheet and shows you all the resolutions and frame rates. And on there it does say DCI 4K, and it is windowed. And the at the bottom it does say that that's only available on the Pocket 6K Pro. So just another feature that kind of separates it from the Pocket 6K. And I think in ProRes, the 4K DCI ProRes is downscaled from 5.7K, but the way with this sensor is, just like on the 4K and the 6K, and on the G2, when you jump down resolution, it's a 1-to-1 pixel crop, basically. So, I agree, Parker. If they change the mount form factor, it will end up as a new line. Let's see here. Can we talk about rigging the 6K Pro on an easy rig? Yeah, I mean, I guess. I guess the Minimax would probably be the proper solution for that. When cages and stuff, all that come out, that'll probably be a good indication, and that might be a great, more affordable easy rig option, the Minimax, as opposed to the Vario 5, whatever. For the Pocket 6K, if you're running it a little bit heavier, my URSA G3 is, I think, a little bit too heavy for the Minimax, but for the Pocket 6K Pro, the Minimax might be a decent solution, especially if you're doing really long takes and stuff like that. So definitely something I'm going to look into. Caleb Pierce, thanks for joining, man. Do you like that they kept the form factor relatively the same, or should they have explored something similar to the Komodo? I honestly, I don't hate the form factor, to be honest with you. I didn't like the form factor of the Pocket 4K and 6K simply because it had to be rigged out to be, to be really useful on set. And there's going to be circumstances where the Pocket 6K Pro just needs to be rigged out too, just to make the camera heavier or run off V-mount batteries to, for me personally, if I'm going to run a full rig with a monitor and stuff, I'd rather just run it off of V-mount rig. Kind of like my old Pocket 4K rig, just so I can power everything off the one battery. So, but at the same time, when you strip it down, it just looks like a DSLR, and especially with that little EVF on top, it really looks like a DSLR, and that limits the need to rig it out for a lot of situations. When you're doing really discreet, inconspicuous filming, whether you're maybe on a location without a permit, which I'm not recommending you do that, but if you do that, you're probably going to get stopped way less often, or less likely chance of getting stopped with like a Pocket 6K Pro as opposed to even a Komodo, because the Komodo being a cube form factor, it has to be rigged. It's not something, the screen is fixed to the top, and it's just not something you can run without rigging it up. And the Pocket 6K Pro, I don't really see that. I see that camera is very useful for a lot of situations where you don't need to rig the thing up and cage it out and all that kind of stuff. Let's see if it fits on the RS2. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an RS2, but I know Kevin does. And yeah, so Kevin can test that out. Ben Sanders, do you think the 6K Pro will be too big for handheld gimbals? I don't think so. I have the Ronin S, the original Ronin S, and a Feiyutech AK4500 that I'm going to test it out on, so we'll see there. Let's see. People forgot how small the company Blackmagic is compared to Canon, Sony. Yeah, they are relatively small, but they're growing significantly. So yeah. Okay, Michael, thanks for joining back on. I know you were on the previous stream, but the audios were. But yeah, now audio is now working. Was notified of the first stream today, but not this one. Sorry, I don't know. Live streams are always confusing. Other than Red, the other major manufacturers are not going the cube design. I think that narrative is overblown. I agree, honestly. I think the cube shape has its place, but the one thing with the Red form factor that I really like, that is also a bummer, is using all of their first-party accessories. So when you do that, you don't have any wires coming off the camera, which is really cool. Makes it look really clean and all that kind of stuff. But I guess you could do that with any form factor. I don't really know where I was going with that, to be honest with you. But the cube form factor has its benefits, but you need to rig them out. There's not a situation where you don't have to rig it out. Maybe on a gimbal, maybe, but other than that, I mean, I kind of like the approach that Blackmagic Design has gone with their cameras. They've come a long way since that one right there, the original 2.5K and the production camera. But since then, with the exception of those cameras and the micro cameras, they're pretty much all ready to shoot like right out of the box, which I really like. Like the OG pocket camera. Yeah, there's things that are needed to like make them more useful on set, but for like just running gun or travel stuff, I like the design, especially the 6K Pro with the monitor that flips out. And Petro just asked if the monitor really is 15 nits. Yep, that's my understanding. I mean, that's what they said. So I'm gonna have to trust that, and I'm really excited for that. I mean, the size of the monitor is also already awesome, and having that articulates is pretty awesome. I was gonna say game changer, but I really freaking hate saying that now because it's overused. Game changer is like as overused as cinematic. Grip tips. Look at this handsome feller. Hey dude, what's up, Dave? Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching me in full 720p because freaking OBS reverted its settings or something. I was like, that makes me so mad because I was like, this A10 mini thing like works in HD, and I was so excited and just didn't even get to set this system. Anyways, I digress. Let's see. When is it expected to ship? I have no idea. You know, they said available immediately, and last time they said that with the Pocket 6K Pro, or last time they said that when the Pocket 6K was announced, it did ship immediately. But this one, I don't know. We'll see. Marani says, no, I agree. That is the thing that excited me about the Pocket 6K Pro. A reduction of wires, and their accessories are done by using pins instead of wires. Birdie, hey Tyler, out of the Pocket 6K Pro, the day it came out, and it says they're already back ordered. Do you think it'll take a while before they get them out? I don't know. I don't have like an inside scoop on the matter, but my guess is my guess is they're held up in customs somewhere or shipping something, or maybe the U.S. distributor had them all and was waiting for all the shops to put their orders in. I don't know how all that plays out. I'm hoping if they said it was available now, that means they had a pretty good stock of them. And if you were early on an order list, then I would hope that like the next couple of weeks they would ship out, but I really don't know. Let's see here. Grayson, just joined the chat. Do we know how much better the battery life is? I talked about that on on my last video about kind of my reaction to this, and it is a bigger battery and they do hold more. I don't think I have one up here, but this is the 970, so the 570 or 550 is like that like it's pretty small. But they do have more. They do have more capacity, but I think with the 1500 nit brightness of the screen, if you're using it at full power, I don't think it's going to last that much longer. I think it's going to be kind of a wash. But the new battery grip, which is pretty exciting, and I'm considering, getting one of those in as well. That's pretty cool because of the design that you can kind of hot swap the batteries, so you always have an internal battery running the camera, which is cool. But just the single battery, I could be surprised. They could have done stuff to optimize it a little bit more, but I'm not sure if it's going to last that much longer, to be quite honest. Now, the other thing that I'm interested in and I'm going to test out is the different types of batteries, the different brands of 550 or 570 batteries. Are they consistent with runtime, and do they talk to the camera with percentages and all that kind of stuff? The LPE6 batteries out there, Canon ones were the only ones that really, if I remember correctly, were the only ones that really had a reliable runtime and sent the battery percentage and stuff. But I know that Canon batteries have they're like intelligent batteries or something, so there's like a chip in there, and the third-party ones I think are, if I can remember correctly, they're just kind of like dumbed down versions of that, and even a lot of them don't even charge on the Canon provided LPE6 charger. So with that being said, some of the third-party batteries like Wasabi were absolute garbage. I had 10 of them, and even out of quality control, 3 of them only worked consistently, and even then, between the 3 of those, they weren't even consistent with runtime on the Pocket 4K and 6K. So who knows? I hope it is better battery life, though. I am cautiously optimistic. So let's see, David. Hey, you're that guy on the Aperture Facebook group. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I am. I am one of the guys and gals on the Aperture Facebook group. That's an awesome group. If you use Aperture products and you're on Facebook, definitely join the Aperture user group. It's a pretty cool community, and they got cool live streams and all that kind of stuff. So, Ben Sanders, how do you like the preamps on your 6K now that there are 2 inputs on the Pro? I'm thinking I could skip my audio recorder on some gigs. That's one thing I want to test out on the 6K Pro. I don't think they're terrible, but I don't think they're best in class by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm curious if they've changed any of that on the Pocket 6K Pro. That'd be really cool. Let's see. Michael, at least Blackmagic seems to be better about shipping on time compared to Tilta. Well, Blackmagic's had a few years to kind of learn from that. When the original cinema camera and the Pocket cinema camera came out, there was a very, very long lead time. And same thing with the URSAs and stuff. But with the Pocket cameras, especially when the Pocket 6K came in, I think they were pretty good on shipping times. And I think with the Pocket 6K Pro, since they're on pre-order right now, it's either due to the pandemic, probably. I mean, that seems to be a reason for everything these days. That's not good. And then either that or maybe they're just held up in customs or something, or like I said, maybe the U.S. distributor just kind of holding on to them until they got the orders in from the retailers, which seems odd. You would think the major retailers would get them right away, but who knows. Let's see here. Fabian, I'm wondering if the 6K Pro has a better IR cut filter integrated. If so, there wouldn't be the need for cutting IR even when using NDs in a matte box. Yeah, I agree. On the URSA Mini Pro G2, the IR cut NDs are fantastic, and even if they're just the same ones as on the URSA Mini Pro G2, I'm gonna be a really happy camper. And I read or heard or something that even the clear ND tray actually has IR filtration on it as well. So if that's the case, that's gonna be really awesome, because there are some people that just prefer to use their own set of NDs for whatever reason. So that is that'd be, yeah, anyways. The film guy figured I'd drop in and say, hey, well, hello. Thank you so much for joining. Let's see. Fabian from Ryder, the built-in NDs are IRNDs, so there's okay, cool. I'm not personally a fan of Gen 5 color science. I hope there is a way to downgrade. Interesting. You're the first person I've heard to say that you don't like the Gen 5 color science. I'd love for you to elaborate on that and what you don't like about it. I personally am a huge fan of it for a number of reasons. I think skin tones look better. I think, well, they fixed like the oversaturation of reds. And the cool thing is, even in DaVinci Resolve, if you don't want to use Gen 5 color, you have the ability to switch the gamma and input color space and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes I'll even switch to, log C and area wide gamut and use the buttery LUTS Airy Rec 709 LUT, and it looks awesome. In fact, that's what I did on my last video, and it looks pretty good. Let's see. Did timecode work via audio signal? Maybe 2 XLRs plus timecode? I don't know, and that's a great question. That's something I'm also curious about, to see if if you can use both XLR inputs at the same time, and then also jam timecode into the 3.5mm input. From what I remember, I think he's just said once you plug it in, it automatically detects the timecode and jams it in. So theoretically, I think that should work, but that'll be definitely something that I want to test out. So the next thing that I'm actually really interested in is to see if the Pocket 6K Pro, the EVF input on the top, is if that's actually an input, like a proprietary input, or if it's like mini HDMI or something. Because I was looking at it on the top, and if you look, like the HDMI kind of has like a little indentation on it, and this one is kind of more uniform on the sides. So I don't think that's HDMI, but I'm wondering if that's maybe mini HDMI or if it's a proprietary connection, because it'd be really cool to be able to use that as a second monitor out, especially if it at least gave you a HD out, so you can use something like a Teradek or a Hollyland unit or something like that. So that'd be cool, or just have a way to run, if you wanted to run a monitor on top, to have a really short HDMI cable to run on the top of the monitor or something, or top of the camera, so kind of clean up the rig a little bit. So that would be cool. Would you consider the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera geared more towards cinema style? How does it compare to the A7S III? I think they're just different cameras for different styles of shooting. I think the A7S III seems to be a great companion camera to especially like the FX6 if you're invested in that system. But it also takes stills. Albeit they're only like 12 megapixel stills, but I think that the Pocket 6K is more geared towards cinema style shooting, and where you have more time to set up and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're for different purposes. Just like I think the R5 from Canon is not a competitor to the Pocket 6K Pro. I think they're different tools for different jobs. I would say, like, from a comparison standpoint with cameras that are currently out, I think the Pocket 6K Pro definitely gives the Canon C70 and the Red Komodo and maybe the rumored FX3 kind of a run for their money. Now, they're totally different. The specs are totally different, and the Komodo has global shutter and supposedly more dynamic range. I haven't been convinced of that quite yet, but and the C70 has Canon's dual pixel autofocus, and yeah, but when you look at like form factor and like price point and stuff, it's kind of hard to ignore the Pocket 6K Pro with the features that it has, like built-in NDs and now that articulating screen and dual XLR in. The question is, how clean are the preamps? That's one thing I really want to know, and yeah. I mean, that's something really to consider. The other thing is, it has an EF mount, so you can't run you know, a speed booster or anything like that, you're kind of stuck with that field of view. I know the company Luke Adapters or something has a speed booster thing that they put in the Pocket 6K, but I'm not sure if that's gonna work with the ND filters. Let's see. The Gen 5 looks better out of the box, but it doesn't use the full gamma range of the sensor. As someone who does color space transform and DaVinci Resolve, it always just seems limiting. Oh, interesting. Yeah, what I understand from that is there's no more dynamic range with Gen 5 color. It's just a different gamma curve. You know, with recording in Blackmagic Raw, you're pretty much getting the metadata level stuff. So I don't know all the science behind it, quite honestly. I think it's an easier color space or color science to grade with. So yeah, but that's interesting insight. Jordan, I don't think it has HDMI. It has to provide power for the OLED display. Yeah, again, that's something that I don't know. I have a feeling it's a proprietary connection. And if it is a proprietary connection, maybe at some point they release the specs to it that it can be adapted. Who knows? Because it does send a signal out, a video signal out. So that'd be kind of cool. But that EVF seems really cool, and has a little sensor on there. So like when you put it up to your eye, it turns the actual 5-inch screen off, so you don't mess with the menu settings or something. So that'd be pretty cool. Michael Jolly, thanks for joining, man. Michael says, hope they provide a cable for the EVF so we can rig it wherever. Still thinking C70 rather than a second pocket cam, but running without a rig with big cards would be a welcome change. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean you have an R5 and a pocket camera, so I mean you're kind of in the boat of, you know, if you get the C70, you have a solid B cam to the C70. If you get the Pocket 6K Pro, then you have a solid B cam to that too. So yeah, you're in a solid position. The only thing I would say is if budget's a concern, you could pick up 2 Pocket 6K Pros for the price of the C70. But the C70 is an awesome camera, so nobody would blame you for getting C70 because it really is. It's got a real beautiful image. The film guy, considering it's the Pocket 6K Pro, I was disappointed that there was no SDI. Absolutely, that is one of the things that I wish that they would have had on this camera, and I wish they would have just swapped the HDMI out with SDI. Just a more solid connection, and yeah, totally agree. That's the one thing with this camera that I'm surprised or I guess wish they would have given us, honestly. Love First says, yeah, I really wanted SDI instead of extra audio. Yeah, I think the 2 XLR input, I think the dual XLR was a smart move, and especially like you look at the C70, it has dual mini XLR. I'm actually really excited to have the 2 XLR inputs. It's just really helpful. They both provide phantom power for. I mean, there's all kinds of situations where I prefer XLR over a 3.5mm input, but I do wish that they would have swapped the HDMI with SDI, just from a purely pro perspective. So the other thing that I'm interested to see is if they added the Q1 and Q3 recording formats, compression rates on the constant quality. For Blackmagic Raw. So I'm wondering if maybe they'll give us 18:1 compression like they have on the URSA 12K. That is quite a bit of compression. However, for longer form stuff, long interviews or keynotes or something like that, or using like the ATEM where you have multiple pocket cameras and stuff, it'd be really cool to have 18:1 compression where you can maybe even record to SD cards or something like that in 6K. That'd be kind of neat, but I don't know. The next thing I want to see is if they're going to give maybe more frame rates in the 4K mode. the 4K crop mode, especially if they give you like the 2:1 aspect ratio. So when the Pocket 4K, they just decided to give us the 2:1 aspect ratio and then gave us 75 frames per second. So that was pretty cool. So I'm wondering if they'll do that with the Pocket 6K Pro to maybe squeeze out some more frames per second there. And I'm also curious to see if rolling shutter performance is improved using the 4K crop mode on the Pocket 6K. So, because that'd be cool. Because I don't think the Pocket 6K has definitely not as good as rolling shutter performance as the URSA cameras, and be cool to see if the Pocket 4K has, or Pocket 6K Pro has better rolling shutter performance than it does in 6K when you're recording in 4K RAW. Let's see, film guy, slightly off topic, but do we think we will get the URSA Mini G3 this year? I don't know. That's a good question. With the release of the URSA Mini Pro 12K, I don't know. That's a maybe, who knows? They always seem to like blow everybody's minds. So maybe this summer we'll see something. That's kind of time when they announced the URSA 12K, right? Like summertime. B-Regs Productions. Wonder what a 60mm and up prime lens I should get for my 6K. There's all kinds out there. I love an 85. If you're going the Leica R route, the 90mm is a really pretty lens. But it just depends on what your current lens situation is. Slightly off topic, do you think a 60-watt light is enough when you want to double diffuse or booklight technique? No, definitely not enough. The 300D Mark II, which is a 300-watt light, is barely enough. The 600D Pro with booklighting, I mean, booklighting, you need a lot of output for booklight to really make it a good booklight with using like a 6x or 8x frame or something. So I would say minimum 300D Mark II, that range, like something like a 60-watt, like the SL60W or the new 60D 60X lights from Aperture. They just won't cut it for a booklight or double diffusing. You need quite a bit of output to make that work. So yeah, I would say minimum 300D, around like whatever equivalent. You don't have to go with the Aperture one, but whatever the equivalent Godox one or whatever the other Nanlite, just the daylight balance ones. That would probably be like the minimum starting point for booklighting. But for booklighting, especially in a bigger area, bigger room, stuff like that, I really think something like the 600D or 600D Pro would be more beneficial for that. And I mean, if you're not just a YouTuber, the 600D or the Nanlite, whatever their brightest one is, like it's always good to have more output than needed, but it always sucks when you don't have enough output from a light. So if you can, I would definitely just spring for the brightest light that you can get, because you can always dim it down. I'd suggest always to use a Fresnel for booklights also. Not necessarily, actually. I guess it just depends on the light that you have. But a Fresnel can actually diffuse light a little bit. It just depends on what you're looking to go for. A Fresnel will definitely intensify the light output and centralize it. But with the 600D Pro, the little dish thingy, this thing, the little beauty dish thing that comes, this is for the 300D, but this thing actually does quite good for focusing that light on a specific area. So even something like this for a booklight would be would be really good. Sometimes with the Fresnel too, you can't flag it as well because you don't get as hard enough of a cut. So that's something else to consider with there. But yeah, I mean, a Fresnel is definitely going to help with output and all that stuff. Also, how do you get your clients? Is it word of mouth, social media, websites? It's all the above. It's just networking. I mean, that's a huge part of filmmaking. It depends on where you're located. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Back in Charleston, where I grew up, I definitely knew a lot more people, but so it was a little easier to find work. But since moving to Colorado in the Boulder, Denver area, I'm brand new to the city, and especially during a pandemic, it's been pretty difficult to network. So yeah, I mean, I cold call, cold emails, just meeting other filmmakers, reaching out to production companies, whatever. It just depends on kind of where you want to do. If you just want a DP or if you want to do full scale production, it just totally depends. But yeah, love first, word of mouth, social media, websites, YouTube helps, honestly. I mean, that's a great reason to start a YouTube channel, is to just connect with other filmmakers and you know, word of mouth kind of spreads from there. No speculations, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. I would guess maybe the well, honestly, I said the new pocket camera would have the new 12K sensor, but like limited at 6K or something. Clearly I was wrong on that. So I probably wouldn't listen to my speculations on any cameras ever, because clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. But if I were to wish, then yeah, maybe like the new 12K sensor or some variant of that and max it out at 6K. But I don't know. What would you want to next? What would you want the next URSA Mini Pro to feature? Oh man, proxy recording would be great, or dual recording. That would be awesome. I just don't. I wish that was on the G2. Honestly, I would love to have dual recording, just for redundancy and all that stuff. What else would I want? That's like kind of it. I really like the G2. I mean, it's such a fantastic camera. The image is beautiful. The dynamic range, maybe more dynamic range. I mean, we can always, we always like that, I guess. Yeah, I don't. The URSA G2 is just such a good camera. I just, unless it dies, I just don't see a need to like upgrade from that. Ben Folsom, try networking in Maine. It's a nightmare. I can imagine. That seems tough. But hey, maybe you're one of the only filmmakers in your area, and use that to your advantage. Go on Facebook and get connected with like local business groups and local small business groups. Don't just get into local filmmaker groups. Get into local restaurant owners groups, or whatever the case may be, and that might be a good way to try to network there as well. Use hashtags in your Instagrams. In your Instagrams, use hashtags like main filmmaker or whatever town you're in, and geotag the location and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I've had people reach out to me that found me through Instagram, where I just said, back when I was in Charleston, said, yeah, I just searched, hashtag Charleston filmmaker, and you popped up. And so, that's another way to kind of network, as it were. Josh, thanks for joining, man. Nice live stream. I appreciate that. Inkiad, I really hope I'm pronouncing your name right. What do you think about the Kinfinity or Kindfinity. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. I don't know. I've never used it. It seems like a cool camera, but this is just not something that I'm going to invest in another camera system. So I mean, if they like sent me one to review, that'd be really cool, and I'd check it out and I can give you a better opinion on that. However, it's just not a camera system that I've never used or rented. It's just never made sense for my workflow. Whatever, if I was using the Canon systems or Blackmagic, the Kinfinity or whatever it's called, it didn't make sense for me. So yeah, Josh, everyone hit that like button. Great idea. And there's also a super chat. I think you can send me a bunch of money so I can become rich and famous. I'm totally kidding. But I did start a membership thingy where you can like join. It's like $3 or something. There's a couple different ones, but if you want to like buy me coffee and all that money, I'll just like put back into like gear or something to review on this channel. But yeah. All right, is that made in New York City or something? Anyways, URSA G3 full frame 8K global shutter. Well, there you go, with 47 stops of dynamic range and 27 stops of ND. That would be awesome. Actually, one thing that I would like to see improved, back to you, Kevin, on the URSA G, for the next URSA G3, is the dual gain, dual native ISO on the sensor to be able to record in lower light situations. That's another thing that the Pocket 6K is going to be really good for as a companion to the G2, because the G2 is not great in low light. So let's see here. So yeah, that's what I would like to see on the G3. Do you prefer recording to external SSD, CFast, or SD? CFast internal. I can't stand, even on the G2, I just prefer CFast. It just makes me nervous. I know people, you can lock in the USB thing, and it looks clunky, and I just much prefer to record to CFast cards internally. Just personal preference of mine, and I hate having unnecessary crap hanging off the camera. So yeah, CFast cards all the way. And CFast over SD, just because CFast cards just are able to record in more higher data rates and stuff. So with the CFast cards, you're not going to be limited on what you can record to. SD cards, you're going to drop frames a lot more, especially when you get into like the URSA G2 or the Pocket 6K or something. Let's see here. Speaking of Komodo, still waiting on it. Been 3 months. Yeah, that's a long wait for the camera, but we've all been there with Blackmagic cameras back in the day. So hopefully the Pocket 6K Pro doesn't take 3 months or more to come in, because that would kind of be a bummer. But it looks like a sweet camera. So when you get it in, shoot me a DM or something on Instagram. So share some frames or something, because it does look like a really awesome camera. I was highly considering picking one up at one point, but then Pocket 6K Pro. Honestly, there's like I sold my Pocket 6K and Pocket 4K and my C200 last year. That's kind of a long story. I took a full-time job with a film team, and they had everything there that I could use for freelance as well. So there's no point in me keeping all that stuff. But since I got the URSA, I've been dying to get a Pocket 6K, and yeah, been like 10 times almost like purchased it and then decided not to. So Pocket 6K Pro, hopefully that'll come in soon and be the B cam to this awesomeness. Let's see. There was another thing that I was interested in with the Pocket 6K Pro that I was surprised about. Let's see. I am surprised that they kept with CFast and SD card slot. The SD card slot just doesn't make a lot of sense to me on the Pocket 6K, I guess, because I don't know, just with the data rates, it just doesn't make that much sense to have SD cards in that camera. I would have preferred to maybe see to CFast cards or maybe a CFast and CF Express or something like that. But that was it. There was another thing that I was surprised. The SDI out was probably my biggest surprise with this camera. I was really hoping that they would have given a SDI out on this. Let's see here. I had the Pocket 4K for the past 2 years. It was definitely sad seeing it go. Great camera. Yeah, it is a great camera. I go back and look at like this video, I shot, travel film that I shot. I think I called it like Cinematic England or something like clickbaity like that. But that, and then another one from Colorado. And like, I go back watching that and I'm just still blown away by how good that image looks. It really does look like a freaking Alexa or something. Let's see. Nathan, how essential do you think an easy rig is? I know it's not a stabilizer, but I love the movement feel it gives. It depends on this system that you're running. If you're running like on the URSA G2 for pretty much any shoot now, there's a shop here that has one locally. I'll rent out for every shoot. I love doing interviews handheld. I mean, the A cam is locked down on sticks, but the B cam I love having on the Easy Rig. It just gives a little bit more, I don't know, just a little bit more visual interest to the interview. It kind of keeps it flowing, doesn't feel as static, and it kind of makes you feel a little bit more there. Feel like I'm not even answering your question. I think it's very essential, but it depends on kind of what you're shooting and what camera system you're running. If you're just running like an A7S or an R5 or something, it's not necessary. Like, if you can't hold that camera out, then you really probably should go to the gym, because like that's a very light camera. But if you're running like an URSA or a Red or RE or even like a fully rigged out pocket camera, yeah, that extra weight, I mean, even just holding 5 pounds out in front of you for a really long time can definitely fatigue your back and all that. But it just really depends. Like for live production, I love having an Easy Rig for live production. It just makes shooting so much easier for long periods of time, like for musicians or whatever the case may be. But yeah, they're awesome. I think Kevin Reyes, I think you should go buy an Easy Rig, honestly. If you're watching this, you should definitely. Everybody just at Kevin Reyes in this chat, just tell him to go buy an Easy Rig right now. Just do it, please. He needs one. Nolan, CF Express Type A would be cool. So tiny and fast. Expensive, though. I'll gladly record to my T5. Yeah, that's the one thing with recording to CFast or CF Express. The media is expensive, but honestly, I'll pay for that convenience, because it just makes the rig so much cleaner. And it worries me so much about knocking the camera out, or knocking the USB thing out of the thing. I'm really doing good with my English today as my first language. Let's see. Ben Folsom. Easy Rig is great, but it's kind of a pain to use at points. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely times where an Easy Rig can be a pain to use, especially if you're shooting in like really tight quarters. That little arm swinging around can be annoying. Kevin. I know you bought one. I'm just trolling you. Well, hey everyone, it is we're coming up on an hour here, and I'm blown away that y'all are still here listening to me blabber on. But I think we're probably gonna wrap this thing up unless you have any more questions. I don't want to take any more of your time up. Yeah, but super pumped that the live stream finally worked out. That took way longer, and it was way more of a headache than I wanted it to. But the next one is going to be in at least HD. This thing doesn't go to 4K, so unfortunately you can't watch my live stream in 4K, but you're probably watching this on your phone anyways. So, but the 720p, that thing, that makes me so mad. Yeah. Oh, Carlo just arrived late, but I'll rewatch the video later. Cool. Well, thanks for joining anyways, and appreciate you dropping in. Last question, what's your favorite gimbal? Probably the Ronin S, just because that's the only one I have. But the RS2 seems like it would be my favorite gimbal, but I don't have it. So that is pretty much it. Well, folks, I think we're gonna wrap things up. Thank you so much for chatting and being live in the comments or in the live chat and all that kind of stuff. If I come out with a live stream next, I don't promise, but I'm gonna try really hard to make sure that it works and all that kind of stuff before I go on live. But didn't change anything from last time, and OBS decided to, I don't know. So anyways, love y'all so much. Thank you so much for joining in, and I will catch y'all next time. I'm gonna make a lighting breakdown video next, I think, from a recent shoot. So stay tuned for that. And then maybe a collab with a couple other people. So I'll call you. You know who you are. Love y'all. Bye.